So this is our first of our Instagram mini series, I suppose. And yeah, what a movement we're starting with hunger directed eating. It's been incredible, absolutely incredible. So many light bulbs are being switched on, and all these women and men coming together,
right,
supporting each other, seeing that there is an alternative. So anyway, without further ado, hello, Josie,
hello.
author of the life-changing Hunger Directed Eating Bible. I'll kind of hand over to you and you can introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you guys for being here. Those of you who watched the original live, we had some technical glitches, but I always kind of think it is a marvel that we live on different continents and we're able to talk this quickly. So I'm just grateful for this platform. But we apologize that it had some glitches. But hey, humble beginnings, right? So yeah, my background, as you were asking kind of previously with eating, is that at about age 9, I started to put on a lot of weight, and both of my parents are obese, my entire family. I have one obese grandparent on each side. So that was something that was very prevalent in my family. One thing I love about my story is I kind of bust all the myths. So I had 2 obese parents with obese grandparents. I was fat as a kid. You know how they say when you have the fat cells, they don't go away. And I'm 48 right now. So whenever people say, oh, when you get older, and at 48, I've been probably like 15 years now eating this way and completely free from dieting after the craziest past. But I just love, if I could give hope to anyone, it's like, nope, the older I get, the better it gets, because the more skilled and refined you are listening to yourself. If your body changes, your hunger will change with it, right? But so I started dieting, and I was just crazy. I moved to Los Angeles for my undergraduate at 17, which I think it's like required that you get a minor in an eating disorder there because everybody's dieting, right? It just came with the program. And as I kind of shared a little bit in Instagram Live, in my 20s, when I was in grad school for psych research, I kind of fell backwards into this position where I was in this really small group. I lived right near Silicon Valley, right before the tech boom. And we built some really amazing things in the tech world. And Harvard Business School had sent their grad students to come and use something that I built. And I'll just never forget the moment that I'm in grad school, and these people are coming and studying something, and it should have been this moment of pride and feeling successful. And I could not stop laser focusing on these cherry Danish that were on the Bloomin' table during this meeting. And then people are saying, oh, this is incredible. Wow. And I'm like, cherry Danish, cherry Danish. And so of course the minute the meeting's over, I go and have not 1, but 3. I wolfed down 3 from the neighboring pastry shop of the same cherry Danish. Like I knew exactly where that one was from. That's of course how crazy I was. And I was thinking, wow, I'm kind of a smart girl, yet I can't learn how to stop bringing that Danish from my hand to my mouth. And as I shared in the story, it was around that same time that I was obsessed with dieting. I spent all my waking moments counting this, doing that, making fake, bizarre semblances of real foods. And I was heavier than ever. And I was getting ready to go to a wedding. And again, as I shared, when we have weddings or a reunion, it's an evaluation event, because you always think, oh, by the time when you get the invite, well, I'm going to be perfectly skinny by the time that comes, or thin or lean, or I'm going to, not be overeating in this size anymore by the time the event comes. And the event came, and I was heavier than ever. And I went to go put on the clothes I was going to wear, and they didn't fit. And you know how you have that one skirt in the back of your closet, you're like fat skirt or heavy skirt. Yeah, you're like, that'll fit no matter what. And the wedding was an hour away, and I couldn't zip it up. And it was not for lack of trying. I had been dieting and putting the majority, I had been, I probably should be working and looking up things about calories at work. Like I had really put my time into it, and I just crumbled, and I really just broke down and cried. And I was like, you know what, that is it. I'm going to solve this. I am determined. I will solve this. And the minute I do, I am going to share it with every single person who hurts with food, because I know this is solvable. And that's how the journey started. And it took me probably a good 8 years to get all the data together, to figure everything out. And I can honestly say now, I'm 48 years old, and I do not hurt with food at all. I'm lean. I'm what my body should weigh, because I just eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. I'm consistently lean. I have one size clothing right? You remember how you had the different sizes, and it's been like that forever. And I mean, I was really cautious before I went public with this message. I made sure for several years that my weight wasn't going to fluctuate, because the last thing I wanted was to offer this to people and have crazy eating come back. And so it's just been really powerful to be able to share it. And I just thank you so much, because I mean, we're pretty powerful together, because, you know, I have kind of the data to help people see, but you have incited a riot. You have turned the internet and the world upside down, and these women, it is so beautiful, and men have come together, and seeing how supportive you're being of each other. I mean, this is powerful.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I've got goosebumps listening to you.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And why I think this has created such a movement is because, and I'm speaking for myself as well as everyone else, we all thought we were alone. We all thought we were crazy, broken, disordered, addicted, had no willpower, greedy, pigs, all of these things. And I love social media. I think it's great, but I also think there's some negatives. And I think there's that kind of comparison thing. And you almost see everyone else doing well. And then you think, am I the only one that can't stick to a diet? Like, what's going on? And yeah, this has created such a movement, because I'm probably, you know, I put my hand up and I've said, actually, you know, I couldn't do diets, and it wasn't me. It was the diet that failed me. Here's the evidence, here's the science, and people are going for the first time. It's making sense. Everything's clicking into place. It's logical, it's rational. Everyone can understand what's going on now. You've almost like taken the blindfold off, and it seems so obvious. But before this, we thought we're doing the diets over and over again and just exacerbating the same problem. And we thought we were going to fix it with the diet. Anyway, I am waffling. Everyone knows my story, I think, through Instagram. Again, like you, chubby child, knew about how many calories were in my sweets from just out of nappies, pretty much. You know, I always understood calories. I grew up with a mum who's very conscious of her weight. I don't blame her. It's,
no, of course.
We're all kind of hurting with food. We're all in that same boat. Got to my teenage years, kept trying diets. I've got all my food diaries like under my bed at home, like, and I'd do it for 3 weeks, and then I'd go off plan, and then I'd do it for another 3 weeks. And I got to the age of 17 and I was obese. I was 17 and a half stone, and I hated it. I didn't want to be that overweight. It wasn't my choice, and it wasn't through a lack of trying. And I finally calorie counted, like got it down, kind of shut myself away for a year, dropped in total 100 pounds.
Right.
But the kicker came for me where as I got slimmer and slimmer, it got harder and harder, naturally, physiologically. And when I was when I was nearing my slimmest, I was really being restrictive. But of course, the more restrictive you are, then the bigger the binge.
Right.
I went on holiday, piled on a stone on holiday, which is 14 pounds.
Wow.
Got back, I was like, right, I've got a stone to lose, got 14 pounds to lose. And in trying to lose 14 pounds, I put on over 50. Now, not obviously inconsistently, I'd start a diet for a certain amount of time, then come off the diet and put on weight, and then start another diet. How many diets I was on during the 5 years that followed, trying to lose 14 pounds and ending up putting more than 50 on. I don't even know how much time was wasted, how many memories were wasted. But anyway, that's all my story. And then found Hunger Directed Eating. Again, like you, I think people have a duty of care, especially if they've got a relatively large following on social media. So I wanted to be 100% sure before I put this that I believed in it, because there's a lot of vulnerable people that have put their faith and their hope into diets and they haven't worked, they've been let down. And so I did this quietly. I can do things quietly. I did it for 3 months, and what can I say? It's changed my life. It's transformed my life. I can't. Something just and I had to talk about it. And yeah, we've set a revolution off. We're in history. But anyway, I think that probably covers both of our backgrounds. So straight over to the brain expert over there. Why don't diets work? What is the science?
Right. That is so important. it's so important to establish, first of all, that they don't, right? And then why? Because we all think they do. And then before, my background is in research, and I'm going to dive into the data. But before I do, let's just look at common sense for a second. If diets worked for lasting weight loss, none of us would be here right now, because every single one of us have been on a diet. We would go on a diet, we would lose the weight, and we would be done. There would be exactly one diet book. It would have 2 words, eat less, and we would all be done, right?
Yeah,
and yet, what other product do we consume that we buy and explodes into these terrible side effects, yet we blame ourselves? If you bought a face cream that like completely inflamed your face, you wouldn't say, I rubbed it in the wrong way, I didn't try hard enough, right? You'd write a bad review and say, don't buy that. So that's just common sense. But let's look at the data, right? Because I needed data. That's just the way my brain works. We're really similar. We're kind of a science nerd, right? I'm like a research nerd, where it's like, if there's evidence, then I can trust it. I was so scared. We've been lied to and bamboozled for so long. So, as I talk about in the book, Arthur Frank from George Washington University reported that of every 200 people who go on a diet, only 10 successfully lose the weight they want to lose. First of all, those are terrible odds, right? I always say in the book, I wouldn't fly a plane that has odds like that, right? Only 10, but it gets worse when we look at, because I think every single woman here and gentleman, we've all lost weight on a diet, right? And but when you look at actually keeping the weight off, it gets worse. It's only 1%, so that's like 99.5% failure rate. UCLA did the studies where they looked at every single long-term diet study. So it had to follow dieters from 2 to 5 years. Tracy Mann goes on record saying, sorry, the data is conclusive. Everybody was better off before they dieted. They did not result in lasting weight loss. The only thing that dieting significantly resulted in is if you've dieted at any point during the study, it significantly predicted that you would weigh more at the end of the study, right? And that, I have the chills when I say that. That would be terrible. That would be bad enough. But it doesn't end there. Like if it just didn't work, it's like, well, that stinks. But it gets much worse than that. The psychological, emotional, and binge eating ramifications of dieting are deleterious. They're awful. Dieting causes binge eating. And here's the data. What they did is that they found when people were dieting, there's several things. Again, I list them in the book. But number 1, it makes you eat more, not less. And they did a study where they divided women into 3 groups, right? They put these women on a diet. These had exercise only. And then these women did nothing. They studied them for, a few weeks. The women in the diet group were eating significantly more than everybody and significantly more than themselves before they started.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Right. So you eat more, and then just, is there feedback coming? I hear a little feedback. Do you hear that from me or no? Okay, perfect. The second part is just 14 days into a diet. They put men and women on a diet and not only studied their physiological changes, but any psychological variance that was going on as well. 14 days into a diet was enough that these people, men and female, exhibited significant feelings of out of controlness with food. So out of control with food, eating more, increased emotional distress, both anxiety and depression, and then increased likelihood that you would eat in the response of those. Not to mention it adds this whole new category of eating because you ate on plan, off plan, that never happened, right? So dieting leads to this gasping, right? The minute that you get access and let yourself have the cake or whatever was off limits, you do this last supper eating and you consume more. You're food fixated. So you're eating more, you're more depressed, you're out of control with food, and you're blaming yourself. So the thing that is so sad is that if you are like me, and I think yourself, like any of you listening, and your background was anything like mine, it makes a lot of sense that you would be really scared that there was something wrong with you, right? Because my eating got crazy. I was doing nutty things when I was off plan. my on plan was pretty nutty too. It was just the other direction. So I was very proud of it, right? Like I would be, I started fasting a lot. And I mean, I'm like 100. So that's back in the 80s when it wasn't even cool to fast, right? I was fasting, right? I was just starving myself, and then would go off plan. And the sad thing is that list, right, that I just read to you, we all exhibited that. And yet we knew something was wrong, but we took it as evidence that we were to blame. We didn't realize those were the symptoms, right? We knew something was wrong. We thought it was us. And that is why I needed to write this book, because we have all experienced these firsthand. And tragically, we believed it was our fault. It was our failings, our shortcomings, right? But I mean, look at yourselves, you guys, right? Dieting always talks in before and afters. Yeah. So we think, I'm going to diet. This is my before. I'm going to diet, and then I'm going to be lean, and my life's going to be perfect. And that's my after. Well, if any of you have dieted right now where you're at, standing up in the cupboard, spooning down peanut butter so fast that you can't breathe at 3 a.m. because you didn't have birthday cake during the day, that is your after. Being heavier, out of control of food, depressed, anxious, obsessed, and binging. This is your after from dieting, right? And if you get one thing out of us rambling on today, or out of my book, out of my message, please, please hear this. It is not you. You're not the problem. You're not disordered. You're not broken. And you are not the only one. Maddy, this is why I am so just grateful to you, because you have brought that piece in. You have given a voice. Brene Brown talks about shame lives in silence. You have opened the doors. Women are saying, wait, I did this crazy behavior. I did that. And now women now know, because of you, and I'm very grateful about this, that they are not alone. We didn't know that these were the natural symptoms, the proven, like peer-reviewed scientific studies, symptoms of dieting. We didn't know that these horror show of behaviors were because of dieting. We thought it was us. So we suffered alone, feeling ashamed and blaming ourselves. And that ends now.
It's crazy. It's crazy because as an ex-dieter, I listen to you and I'm like, yes, and it all makes sense. But at the time, I just internalized all of it. It was me. It was me.
Right.
I had, a slow metabolism. I was never I had a disease. I had binge eating disorder. My mum
exactly.
My auntie saying to me, when you're upset or anything, your mum just used to breastfeed you. So obviously that's why you've got a weight problem. And I was just like, right, great. And I think I just need to say, when I lost 100 pounds, technically I should have been the most informed. And, I knew all about nutrition and I knew all about calories. I knew exactly how much to eat. I still put on 50 pounds. I had done what's deemed as the unimaginable and lost half my body weight. I knew everything and I still put on 50 pounds. It didn't stop me piling the weight on. And that wasn't because I forgot everything overnight, And I think people are really mean and awful to themselves purely because they just don't realize. Before this book came along, I didn't realize. And that's why it's so mind-blowing.
Well, it's because we want more than anything to feel in control of our eating and feel sane again. And we believe, because we look at our behavior and we're like, the only enemy, the only person that's keeping me from getting it is me. I keep doing these behaviors. But I think you've really helped get the message out there. And what the data shows is it's not us, it's the diet. And, I love your blame the diet. It is not you. If something's going wrong, look, these are the scientifically proven results. And it is so just liberating. I want to say thank you to the women out there. And I know there's men too, but how you've been to each other in this process. I know I said that, but it is so beautiful to see each other, supporting each other, being so vulnerable and brave. It's just powerful.
No, it's incredible. I think we are creating that community.
Yeah, we have each other's back.
Absolutely. And this process, most of us have been on diets for years. I had a 70-year-old message me, which is just heartbreaking. And it might take a bit of time. If you've been on diets for years, you've been in this kind of structured place and you're scared. I want to say to people, it's totally normal to feel terrified But I think with the community we're growing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just such an amazing support network.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, well, thank you for bringing the Bible to us as such.
Thank you.
So moving on to, right, we obviously know why diets don't work.
Right.
What is hunger-directed eating? How does it differ from a diet?
Right. Well, I would love to hear your take. Like, how do you perceive it?
So in kind of I'm sat opposite the brain expert here, so I need to be careful how I word this. But to me, hunger-directed eating, it's a tool. Ultimately, it's a tool that reconnects you with your body's natural cues. So as babies, as toddlers, we all knew how much food to eat for our little bodies, you know. We didn't need to have a plan or count calories, and we certainly didn't binge when we had a couple of extra biscuits.
Right.
You know, it's just ridiculous when you even think about it. So I see hunger-directed eating as a biological tool to connect you back with your hunger cues. Now, your hunger cues are obviously directly linked to your metabolism, and it's your body's personalized, perfect way of telling you exactly how much fuel or food you need. You know, it takes a lot of extra energy, surplus calories, to keep a really overweight body really overweight.
Right.
So, you know, it's not your body's kind of natural state. So if you listen and retune, reconnect to those hunger cues, basically the tool is helping you get back in contact with your body.
Right.
And the three byproducts, I mean, there's loads, but the three best byproducts of this is, one, you get freedom with food. You heal that awful, horrible relationship.
You get to bake cookies with your kids. You guys have ruined my mascara so many times, baking cookies for the first time with your kids and actually eating one, right?
Yeah, it's insane. Not being scared of food. And whether I was restricting or binging, I was either obsessively scared of food, or I was shoveling it down my throat and not enjoying it. It wasn't like neither state I was getting enjoyment from. So you get freedom with food, genuine freedom. You know, you can enjoy it and then move on. Number two, you get your life back.
Yeah.
Like, I know it sounds ridiculous. I've got a social life back. I go out for dinner with my boyfriend. I've had husbands messaging me, and not in a
my husbands love me. They are like, Josie, anything Josie says, because they get to eat chips, and right?
Yeah, exactly. I've literally had boyfriends messaging me being like,
yes,
my girlfriend is a new woman, thank you, we've got a life back. You know, she wants to eat with the kids and eat with me and go out. And God, again, I've got goosebumps. Like, this is so much more than food. This is your life. When you restrict your food and you get caught in that horrible emotional roller coaster you just talked about, ruins your life. It doesn't just ruin your eating, it ruins your life.
Right.
You get your life back. And then the third one is weight loss, you know? And I'm not here to tell anyone that they need to lose weight. However, the fact of the matter is, if you reconnect with your body's natural physiological cues and you get, you know, really good listening to that hunger and that satiety, you'll naturally, easily, enjoyably drop the pounds.
Exactly.
It is what it is. And I just think that is just the fact I jump on the scales now every few weeks, every month, and they just move down. I'm just like, what?
I love your video when you're like, shut up.
I know. I was like, shut the front door. The scales have moved down again. But yeah, it's that easy. Yeah, I just think it's, sorry.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's beautiful. So it's just simply the tool. You're not learning anything new, honestly. Like, we're kind of like tricking you in that you already knew how to do this before you dieted as a child. This is exactly how you ate, right? You're relearning how to eat in line with your body's natural signals, like how you blink and how you take a breath in. It is a tool that undoes the damage that dieting has brought and the destruction that it has wrought. And the way that it differs from diets is every diet, no matter what diet it is an external rule. So what it does, okay, so the problem is that people who create diets, nutritionists, they're very smart. I don't know all that they know about that. That's their area. But the problem is every single diet on paper works, right? You get any reasonable healthy diet. Eat some vegetables and some protein and some carbs and eat less than you're eating now, right? On paper. But when you outsource that to an outside rule, they are ignorant. They're not brain experts. They're nutritionists. They understand the molecules of carbs, proteins, fats, minerals, but they are not brain experts. So that's why they work really well on paper. But when you interact them with the human brain, things go nuts, right? So I want to explain to you what's happening there, which is that there's several different parts of our brain. the hypothalamus is the great part that's, you know, it's kind of like our admin in a lovely way, where we could be out flittering about and it still keeps your blood pressure at the right place, still gets you to breathe at the right time, blink, gets you to use the restroom, fall asleep, and lo and behold, get hungry and have a specific appetite for something, and then feel not hungry anymore, right? That is also the same part in charge of fixing a cut. If I got a paper cut and I had to be cognitively in charge of fixing it, I have no idea how to fix it. I would bleed out, right? From like opening mail. So what happens when we're on a diet from neuropsychologically is we take a system that is hardwired to be run by our hypothalamus and we put it under the control of our neocortex. Our neocortex rules. I mean, it is an amazing part of our brain. It's how you can learn a foreign language. It's how you can think about what you want to do in 2 years. It's how you learned how to count. But it was not meant to be in charge of that because it can't keep track. Just think about, like, the way I would paint the analogy is that the minute we take it out of, you know, the part of your brain that's supposed to regulate this and put it into the other part where you have to consciously think about it and keep cliff notes around, you know, you are in all kinds of trouble. Because first of all, what happens if you get bored? Or I mean, not bored, but like distracted or stressed. The kids are crying in the back of the car, you're late. Just think if you're blinking, you got X blinks per day and you were in charge of allotting those and you got distracted and stressed. What would happen? What would happen if you got a little tipsy? And the other problem with this that, again, they're very ignorant to, and this one gets me a little irritated because there's decades worth of research that show this. And so this was avoidable, that whenever you give the brain a don't rule, where you tell it not to do something, don't eat over X amount of calories, don't overeat even. The minute that you make the smallest infraction, so let's say in the US, it's huge to have low carb. That's huge here. So no sugar. So I'm physically hungry at 10 a.m., but my rule was no sugar. The reason I made the rule was I wanted to lose weight. But your brain replaces your sub-goal, the rule, as your overall goal, and it laser focuses no sugar, no sugar. I'm physically hungry at 10, there's some M&Ms. I have a few M&Ms. Alarm goes off. You've broken the rule. If my rule is binary, no sugar, logically, there is no way for me to be successful that whole day. Dietitians also put it into days for easy measure. Again, ignorant to what those two things are explosive together. Because then at 10 o'clock, 4 M&Ms have ruined my whole day. And so 4 M&Ms could never make you gain weight. That's the off-plan mode, right? They could never make you gain weight. But then since you go off-plan for that whole day, it over-exaggerates the damage of the 4 M&Ms and then completely is like, what the heck? Every dieter knows if you break your diet by eating a cookie, what's the only reliable thing to do? You eat the whole bag, right? So it's like, what the heck? I might as well eat until the next starting point. So diets work on paper. They are not brain scientists. They do not understand how that paper interacts. And our lives show, and the research shows that's what happens. So that's how it differs. You are just learning how to listen to your body again, the same way you listen to use the restroom, the same way you listen to blink. We're putting it back where it was in charge.
But this is probably a bit of a dodgy example.
Let's hear it.
If we forgot, or for some reason for 20, 30 years,
yeah,
if we kind of did the equivalent of dieting or going for a wee, right? And we didn't listen to any cues in our body, and I told you, you're only allowed to wee X amount of times a day, or I don't know, any rules around it. Can you imagine?
You can't do it after 7 p.m., right? All those rules.
Exactly. You'd be wetting yourself half the time and then sat on the toilet for the rest of your life. Like, just
such a good analogy.
Internal and biologically driven, it just seems crazy. But this is the problem. Diets make us think we're uncontrollable, and then make us think we need them more. The more we do them, the more reliant we become on them. So
that's a great analogy. I love that.
Classic me, layer on the tone. Anyway, I've got some questions that I was sent in, actually. Okay, so obviously we discussed that your body doesn't want to be massively overweight. Right. Okay, well then, what about a set point? Wow. What about, aren't there some bodies that want to be obese or want to be overweight and will settle there?
Right. that comes up all the time. And it's interesting, when I answer that, I kind of like to go a different direction first, because the only reason somebody's asking about a set point, like I want to talk to the person, right? Yeah. The only reason you are asking about a set point is you have heard this data and you are terrified that no matter what you do, your body's going to stay where it's at right now. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's why. So I want to speak to the fear first. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask this question, because so our brain, when it gets afraid, I can rattle off the data, but when your brain is afraid, we got to have you kind of try something on in a picture, and it helps calm it. So let me ask you this. If you're at a certain weight and you worry maybe you have a set point, let's take this whole last month of your eating. You're on plan eating and you're off plan eating. And let's put all of that in this big circle, all the food you ate. And let's look at that circle and divide out what percentage of the food that you consumed during that 30-day period was in response to a natural, gentle hunger and lived within that hunger and that hunger being gone. Not that that's a rule, not that that's how you have to eat, not that this is the hunger-only eating diet, but just answer that question and look at how much food would be there. When I was a dieter, maybe an eighth of what I ate would have been in response to something that's going on in my body.
Everything
so
else.
What I want to say to your set point is, when we stop doing that crazy off-plan eating and that crazy gasping because you know that you're not going to be able to have access to this food again, all of that extra food just falls away, right? I mean, I loved over Easter weekend, the women that were writing, oh my goodness, it's 3 p.m. I have not even had a chocolate egg, just because it hasn't occurred to me. By 3 p.m., I would have already been like 8 levels into self-abuse because I would have eaten 3 bags of them. Yeah. So set point, the problem, now I'll get over to the science. Now that we see that once we take that away, there's a lot. I mean, you can't not lose weight. The science of set point, the problem is with those studies, they cannot separate the behavioral traits of the individual from their biology. They're not separating that. When I was a dieter and a non-hunger eater, my set point, the weight that I safely stayed at and the size that I stably wore was significantly larger. Mm-hmm. Because I was out of control. I was obsessed with food. I was on plan, off plan. Those kept my set point at that stable place. When I removed dieting and I started listening to my body, my set point magically, ironically, at the same exact time changed and now is at this much leaner weight. And I've been here for well over a decade. And I'm not getting younger. Like I said, I am 48. And, you know, everyone says, oh, I love my figure and how I feel in my body more at 48 than I ever have at any. I mean, I would not go back to 20. Oh, dear Lord, I couldn't do that again with the diet hell I was in, right? Mm-hmm. So the calorie, the set point, and I want to say one last thing, and this is really important. The danger of believing the set point, I think it's very irresponsible. It irritates me. The danger of it is this. When someone tells you, especially a medical person, they've done studies, when someone has a medical coat on and tells you something, you use a different part of your brain when you take in data from them. And it bypasses your critical thinking. That gives me the chills. It's irritating to me. That's why I'm like, check everything I say. Don't take what I say. Try it on in your life. If it hurts, throw me out, right? Blame me, not yourself. Always, I say that. And so when experts tell people something, they don't use their critical thinking, which is why we were all like, diets, oh, okay. The other thing is they did studies where they divided obese people into 2 groups. One group, they taught the disease model. Your genes just are this way. You have this set point of this weight. You will always be this weight. The other group, these were randomly assigned. They said, this is behavioral. You have some behaviors right now that are maintaining your weight. We can teach you. You can learn. They didn't even teach them the behaviors. They just told them they were changeable. They studied them for, the next 10 days, like a week to 10 days. The people who were told it was a disease and that it was their genes and they had a set point ate significantly more in the following time. Being told that it's learned helplessness, and we can talk about that. I talk about the studies, those dogs getting shocked. When you're told there's nothing you can do to change, plus you see yourself spending all your energy trying to lose weight dieting, that is the most damaging thing. your body, your set point is the direct result of your way that you're responding. And sure, everybody has different figures. I'm Italian. I have a tiny waist and a bum. And, you know, one of my best friends, she's like really lean, like smaller, not as big of hips. And my naturally lean weight looks different than hers. But mine is still lean for me. It's still not, and, you know, we're going to talk about, we're purposely not talking about that topic, the body positive. We want to really address that fully. But I'm just talking about getting my body to the place where this is what my body's like. And I use this example. I'm Italian, so I have exactly one eyebrow. I have one. I always have. It stretches across the entire length of my forehead. I pay an amazing woman to turn them into two. Me wanting and having two eyebrows with this Italian heritage is so much more unnatural than me being this weight right now. I am this petite size because this is what my body is like when I don't shove things in it. And I spent the majority of my life from when I was 9 until, you know, about 15-ish years ago at a much higher weight. So does that kind of answer the question about set point, how dangerous it is? So reject set point, reject it. Or you pick it. Pick your new set point.
I think people are just, they're so desperate for answers, aren't they? And when they can't take control of a situation because they've got the wrong tool, i.e. dieting, they go, oh, my body must be made to be this way. It must be, you know, there must be a reason for it. And I get it. It's from desperation. But I think it's really important that people can know they do have the power to change if they want to, you know, ultimately if they want to.
Absolutely right. We don't have any preference about anyone's sizes, although I do have to say, if you're binging from dieting and you have extra weight on and you don't want to lose weight, I think you're going to be disappointed, because when you start listening to your body and not, you will slim. So I mean, we can talk about that later, but like,
it's effortless. Like, look at me. That a couple of weeks ago when I had a wedding, I had like about 4 Chinese meals out, which I love Chinese, and I had a birthday and all this stuff. And I just thought, oh, I'm going to jump on the scales, just, you know, curious. Right. And I'd lost weight, and I was like, shut up.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. Shut the front door.
I was like on Instagram, like, guys, you're not going to believe this. But yeah, you know, it's crazy. Okay, another big topic then, I'm going to fire at you. And this one's controversial, so you're the expert. Binge eating disorder. Is it disorder? Is it a disease? Is it behavioral? Please, like, bow down to you.
That one really brings up a lot for me. And I am so, I mean, like, I love that you've started this movement. I am such a like lover, not a fighter. I'm not an activist in any way about anything. But oh my goodness, do I get feisty about binge eating disorder. I get really angry. So it's like, my background is in psychology, psychological research. So therefore I have a really strong statistical background. So binge eating disorder is something created by the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, DSM, is what the psychologists use. It was created for billing purposes. It is created so that on insurance, we could put what is there on the line item. First of all, that's what was created. The problem, again, when somebody in authority says, I've had doctors be told this and come to me upset. You have binge eating disorder. People confuse it as if it is like the medical model. I used to get strep throat a lot as a kid. So strep throat is something that you could swab, put under a microscope, look at, I think it's called, like, I'm going to say it totally wrong, like the streptolophagus. It's a long name. This is like certain bacteria that was present. It's definitive. They could see it. The way that the DSM creates psychological disorders, for insurance billing purposes, might I add, the way that it does that is this. It studies the statistical variance of things. So that's how much they kind of occur together. This is not causality. Each of the studies that I have mentioned to you, eat more out of control with food, increased depression, increased anxiety, those studies are causal. Dieting causes this. The DSM looks for clusters of things that kind of happen together. The problem, that's correlation. The problem when you use correlation is this. ice cream sales go up with drownings. If I was in charge of the DSM, I would see, oh my gosh, whenever ice cream sales go up, drownings go up. I would responsibly ban ice cream or put a warning on ice cream. Ice cream causes drowning. The problem is, ice cream isn't the cause. It is summer. People eat more ice cream in the summer and they swim more. So sadly, there's a higher incident of drowning. But summer, it's called a spurious variable. It means there is something else that's causing this that we're not seeing. What gets me so feisty is when you look at the DSM, they say they must have 2 to 3 of these symptoms together. You guys, it is the list I just read you. Eat more food. Eat it in a fast, condensed time. Listen, my little one, I have a beautiful little girl that I adopted from Russia when she was 1, and she's 14 tomorrow. And, you know, a while back, I'll never forget, she was on the couch. She has a very normal relationship with food because no rules, no nothing, you know, bizarre sugar snacks are the same as carrots in our house, like whatever you want. And I had made her and a girlfriend some snacks and put it on a tray in the kitchen. And I walked by my beautiful white couch and they had moved the tray to there. And there was these like, those cheese puffs. Ugh, I hate them.
Yeah.
Right? They're just like orange finger magnets. And they were completely ignoring the snacks and playing their game. And so these are girls with normal relationships with food, ignoring the snacks. I walked by, I was like, no, I know how this ends. I was like, you guys, I'm going to take these and put them in the kitchen. I don't live in a mansion. That was like not a far walk from where they were to the kitchen. The minute I pulled the tray up, like savage beasts, these 2 young girls go, no, ignoring these snacks, before with both hands, like wild rabid animals, grabbed 2 handfuls and shoved them in their face. Did they have binge eating disorder? No. Something that was desirable was being taken away from them. Were they interested at all when I walked by? No, they were doing their craft. So binge eating disorder says you eat more quickly. Well, the minute we start dieting, we have the food monitor always. So the minute you're off plan, you know what's coming next. You know that the window's going to close. So of course you're eating more quickly. Of course you're eating more. So my definitive answer is that sure, the combination of symptoms the DSM lists absolutely go together. But the cause is not something they can't find or measure inside of you. The cause is dieting. I have been doing group coaching and private coaching for well over a decade now. And I actually want to like hire someone to put this together because I record all our calls. I probably have 3 solid hours of women from every walk of life saying, the first thing that changed is I completely stopped binging. I do not binge anymore. I've had psychologists at the beginning get mad at me and say I was irresponsible to tell young girls that they could stop binging. And I don't mean to be unkind, but I looked this woman up. I was like, how could she say that? She's a psychotherapist in Berkeley. And she's like, none of my clients have ever been able to have it. It could go into remission, but it comes back. Well, yeah, it comes back when they start dieting again, duh. But I looked at her and she was significantly overweight. And I was kind of thinking, that's like going to, you know, someone to, again, we're going to talk about credit counseling probably later, but you go to someone to help you get out of debt and they're like swimming in debt, right? Mm-hmm. So I understand that people believe it, but I think it's very dangerous. It does not exist in a disorder. It is the direct result of dieting. If you have binge eating disorder, what you really have is dieting disorder. And I think we should call it what it is.
That's actually,
you have dieting disorder.
I'm writing that down for my Instagram.
Thank you. Right. And I mean, it broke my heart. There was a sweet girl just like in the middle of the night. I was up reading and, you know, she was like, wow, for the first time, I realized that I have had an eating disorder. And I just want to say to you, no, you had a dieting disorder. You are not disordered. It's like a blender. If you put glass shards and dirt in the blender, you're going to get something very different than if you put ice and some lemon and a little booze, right? You're the blender in this scenario. Any human that you put dieting rules on is going to exhibit this behavior, period.
I know personally, I haven't even considered binging. As soon as I know we're going to talk about it in more detail later, but for me, the massive thing was I was very much an eating because you ate that on plan. When I went off plan, I was like, right, it's my final opportunity. I'm going to eat everything in the house.
Taking the snacks away.
Everything I might possibly want in the future to get rid of the temptation, and I kind of would stuff myself with it. But when you remove that on plan, when you remove the diet, you remove the binging. it's I know it sounds too good to be true, but I'm just, yeah.
That is so beautifully phrased. I'm like, that's a tweetable. When you remove the on plan, you remove the off plan. That is so well said. Beautiful.
And that's what frustrates me, just coming back to an earlier point about when people say diets work. When people say to me, oh, but my diet works.
Yeah, of course.
You're cherry picking the on plan phase. Yes, the on plan phase. It's a calorie deficit. I can, anyone can tell you that.
Yeah.
So maths. But with the on plan, you will get an off plan. They coexist. I mean, they're mutually exclusive. You can't be in both states at the same time, but you cannot have one without the other. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, only 1 in 200 people manages to spend the majority of their time in the on plan phase.
Right. And we don't even know. Sorry to interrupt, but like we don't even know that person could have been hunger directed eating. They could have accidentally backed into it. We don't even know.
And we don't know how long they kept the weight off for. Right. You know, a lot of these studies aren't actually very long, kind of figure out over much like long-term time. So it's frustrating, and I kind of say, yeah, of course, the on-plan bit works, but tell me about the on-plan phase. Tell me about the kind of the longitudinal stuff. Like it just anyway, that's me going off on a tangent. Okay, so we've established kind of binging and all of that. How people are saying to me, this is another diet, this is another fad.
I love it.
This is I don't know, people are after the latest thing, this is the latest diet. So how does hunger directed eating differ from a diet? Why isn't it a diet?
Well, and like I said, it differs from a diet because we're not outsourcing. Every single diet outsources your eating to your neocortex, which again is the same part of your brain that needs to remember to pick up toothpaste when you go to the store. How many times have you got to the store, bought everything, including 4 new lipsticks, and forgot the dental floss that you were needing, right? Again, it's a great part of our brain, but it was not to be in charge of blinking, breathing. The reason that it's not a fad is that it is how our bodies were created. It's how you ate before you dieted. It is something you could do when you're tipsy, when you're bored, when you're lonely, when you're grumpy.
Real tip, isn't it? When you're drunk.
I'm like, if you can do it when you're tipsy, right? And again, for a lot of people, just, at the beginning, again, we're going to talk about all this later, but if you do eat a little more, that's just because in the old days, being tipsy was like, woo, we got the guards at the gate drunk, let's eat, she's drunk, right? Yeah. So it all naturally goes away. So that's how it differs from dieting, in that it is just getting back in line with your biological functions, putting that back in charge, the little hypothalamus who's just not done you wrong with blinking and breathing and perspiring, right? And palpitating, all the things it does. It's healing your cuts. We're putting it back to your genius. And something that I love, and again, I'm so grateful to you letting me see all these people. I mean, you really, it's like, I always say, I'm like, you're the peanut butter to my jelly. I think you guys call it jam, right? But it's like I solved it. But remember I said I want to share it with every single woman. The sharing it, that's not my gift. I'm like a nerd. I'm like back here with my glasses, super private. And you're, the lovely chatty, like public. I love it.
Lovely.
But what was so powerful about that is that I heard, I think it might have been Ellie, one of the girls on there, saying, that we've gone from hating our bodies, right? And we are going to talk about that. Hating your body is damaging no matter what. That is always going to hurt us. But we've gone from hating our bodies, feeling like our bodies have turned against us, to she was like marveling at how brilliant her body was. Like what it was selecting. And we've gone, and a lot of women have been sharing this, from hating our bodies to marveling like, wow, I really am to be trusted.
Trusting yourself for the first time ever. Giving up all hope in our bodies. And I think it's just important to add, like I keep going on about it, but when I'd lost 100 pounds, everyone thought I'd solved it. I'd done it. I was under an obesity clinic, and I went to them, and I thought they'd give me answers because I was really struggling to keep weight off. I was, really struggling, and I was referred there, and the two of the top professors in the world came in. They were just asked me, they said, Maddy, even with surgery, weight loss surgery, we've got no one that's lost as much weight as you have and kept it off. What's the answer? And they were asking me, and I was there like, I'm here for help. I don't bloody know. I was trying so hard and struggling. So even though I'd lost 100 pounds, I put it on because my brain was working against me.
Yeah.
And
you can't hold your breath that long.
Yeah, and how can you go through life in battle, fighting against your brain? You're so disconnected from your body.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of hunger-directed eating, because the way in which you kind of effortlessly lose the weight, like, I don't want to focus on the weight loss because it's just a byproduct. It's fantastic and I'm really enjoying it, but I don't even think about it. And everyone comes to me and says, I've got my life back.
Right.
But the way in which you lose the weight is the way in which you easily maintain it. And that's the beauty of working.
There's no maintenance mode.
Exactly. There's no
modes. There's no modes.
Well, it would be safe to say then, in your opinion, if you got on plan and off plan, which is directly linked to dieting, hunger directed eating is almost like a third alternative option, safe option, isn't it? You're removing the binging and the off plan because you're removing the restrictive on plan. So hunger directed eating is a mindful, really kind of physiologically genuine, authentically driven third option. Is that kind of safe to say?
Absolutely. And it's not that you eat when you're hungry. I heard you say that in live and I was shouting, but it is not. And you know what? It's fine. We're going to talk about that. You are going to absolutely turn it into the eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full diet. We all do that at the beginning. That's fine. But it is not the eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full diet. Just like it's not the wait until your bladder gets to this place to use the restroom. If I'm going somewhere with a gross restroom, even if I don't have to go, I'm going to go in and try. Or, right, it's not, there's no rules. And I don't beat myself up if I have too much iced tea on a road trip and I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to pull over, right? There are no rules. It is just getting connected back with your body.
But it sounds too good to be true. It sounds crazy. And I'm aware of people watching this who, haven't taken the leap. They go, how? Like, how? But I just want people to know that it's your most authentic, genuine self, and you can reconnect with those skills.
But our body's healing from a cut sounds too good to be true. When I actually looked it up and read all that was going on physiologically to heal from a paper cut, how does that happen without me intervening? Like, I would just get in the way, right? I don't know anything about that. So I understand that it feels too good to be true, but I like people to try on. It is in line with all of our other biological functions.
Very true. It's very true. Massive question I keep getting. Intuitive eating. How does this differ to intuitive eating? Like, go, please explain.
Well, I understand that a lot of people see them as similar because they have a couple of things in common. They're both non-diet approaches that have to do with hunger, right? But they're quite different in some pretty important ways in that so intuitive eating, there's two tenets that they hold. And the first is that you have to, in order to make peace with food, you have to completely release and relinquish any desires to lose weight. If you're overweight from binging, you have to release those completely in order to make peace with food. The second is that you need to be comfortable with gaining weight in the process, sometimes a significant amount of weight. That's bat shizzle. I'm sorry, but that is insane. That is like this. That is like, I'm a consumer credit counselor, and someone has $30,000 of credit debt. This isn't for student loans. This is just, I bought too many lipsticks, more than I could spend, in handbags, right? I'm spending more than I have. They come to someone as a credit counselor, and the credit counselor says, absolutely, I can help you. However, your number one step is you have to release any desire or attachment to being debt-free. You have to release your desire to be debt-free. Second, I have my friend over here who's a loan agent, because we're going to need to get you a loan because you're going to need to be comfortable getting, I don't know, a good 30 to 100 more thousand in debt. Like, you might need to buy a boat because that's how you heal it. I mean, that is just nuts. It is completely nuts. Again, when I did that picture of all the food that we're eating because of non-hunger reasons, when you take it away, I mean, it's just math. And I don't believe wanting to lose weight is the problem. And again, we're going to talk about that later. There's a difference between hating your body and not feeling like you are going to be lovable. Being thin will never solve that. And we'll talk about that. But wanting mastery, like when I was in that meeting and I wanted to focus on the people talking about what I had built, and I couldn't stop obsessing about the dang sweet rolls. I want mastery, and I want to look the way that my body looks when I'm not shoving things it doesn't need in it. So that is what is completely different.
Sorry.
Right? No, go.
You know, because binging, you know, binging isn't a positive thing. I wasn't happy with binging. No. I didn't want to. I didn't enjoy the food. It wasn't like I'm missing out on not binging. Like, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, no.
And it's kind of a brave stance. And I'm not going to, again, we're going to talk about this part separately. But I get a lot of flack. I got a lot of flack at the beginning from certain people about saying that. But what's so interesting, the flack that I get is this, the women saying, thank you for telling me I wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. Right? They identify as a feminist. Thank you for telling me I wasn't bad, that I didn't want to have this extra weight on me. Thank you for telling me that there was a third way. I didn't have to diet or just be really comfortable with putting on weight. Putting on weight was the problem. It's like, oh, we're going to fireproof your house, but you're going to have to be comfortable with it catching on fire a few more times. It's like, that's just nuts, people. Sorry.
I know personally for me, intuitive eating, I thought, yes, it would be so useful. My relationship with food is absolutely busted. But when people told me I'd need to put on weight, potentially, you know, £20, £30, £50, £100, the pain that kind of brought, I don't want to be obese again. I don't want to be morbidly obese again. And so that then ruled that out for me. So I was forever stuck on diet. So hunger-directed eating for me is that win-win where I can make peace with food. I genuinely feel so relaxed, at ease around food. And I'm slim. Like I'm not piling on the weight back to my kind of former obese self. And yeah, it's people's choice, but I think.
And again, we will talk about, this is not about hating your body. This is not about saying any size is more attractive than any other. This is about saying, if you are shoving things in your face that you don't want to be, and as a result, your body is getting a different size, I can understand you not wanting that. Just like if I'm rubbing around in poison oak and I have a rash, I don't want the rash.
No. Oh, I think we're nearly up for our first hour. There's just so much. It's all my.
We both get so feisty about it.
No, it's because we're passionate. So just to kind of close this, bring it to an end. What would be your takeaway points for people watching this on Instagram? What do you want them to remember?
Yeah. First of all, if you hear absolutely anything, I want you to hear, women out there, gentlemen, it is not you. If you are doing any nutty eating, if you're up in the middle of the night shoving things in the pantry, if you're sneaking and going through drive-thrus and binging, if you're purging, if you're doing any of those behaviors, it is not you. Remember those men from the study, they started throwing up, right? They would eat. It's not you. This is the direct result of a possibly well-meaning but very misguided approach of dieting. And so it is not you. Second, you are not broken. Your body's not broken. It's not against you. It doesn't want to be there. If you look at your behaviors, when you gently, easily, and sustainably have it be easy not to eat in that way, your body's going to catch up and look the same way. And it's normal to be terrified. You're not alone. We're here. We're not going anywhere. It's normal to be scary making this change. But this is your after from dieting. And as we can see, even the during from hunger-directed eating, these women are like, I don't even care. I haven't been on the scale, but I'm so blooming happy. Your during is already better.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's absolutely inspiring. And I'm so excited. We've kind of lit this fire. Wow. And it's incredible. Yeah. And I really think we're going to be unstoppable and we're going to change a lot of lives and break this horrible cycle for the next generation.
Yeah. My mission in this, and I mean, I really want us to unite in this mission. I would love to invite you, is that I want this generation to get this word out so that we all hear it, we all understand it, so that we can prevent that next generation, that young girl at 9 from going on her first gateway diet. If all of her aunts and sisters and teachers eat in relationship with their body, they're never going to get broken and then have to get rehealed.
Because dieting has caused this, and I think
it's 100% avoidable.
Fantastic! Wow.
Good talk.
See you later.
Bye. Thank